Welcome to our very first episode of the Boundary Breakers podcast for an episode of tracing inspiration on how your personal experiences shape your professional vision. With the Lauren Anderson, the first African-American Prima Ballerina of the Houston Ballet, the topic and inspiration of Plum Sugar, and a Houston native. Let's welcome Lauren Anderson. Thank you so much for being here. I've admired you from afar and up close, and I'm just so grateful that you're here.
Thank you. It's awesome being here. I'm a fan of yours too. We share a lot of the same passions.
Yes, we do. And we will get into those passions. For every boundary breaker, which is the point of sort of elevating you all above the noise, where you are right now is a point, but it came from the origin of your deep values. And so talk to us about your values and how they shaped who you are.
Wow. I don't think I've ever had that question. It's a wonderful question. I really am about honesty and being me without excuses or, I don't feel as though I need to explain myself. I don't feel as though I need to have an excuse. And I try to install that into the students that I teach. It's okay to just be you, because that's what you bring to the village, right? That's what you bring to the party. That's what you bring to the stage or the art. And the thing that makes us all the same is that we're all different, and embrace that.
Yes. So it sounds like just deep authenticity and honesty.
Yes. However, that's not where I started.
Okay, take us there.
That's just where I am now.
Yeah, take us there. How did you get there?
Well, lived experiences, falling down, getting back up, making a lot of mistakes, learning from them, asking a lot of questions, and a little bit of therapy. No, a lot of therapy. But the right kind, finding the right therapist.
Yeah.
And the love of my family of origin, and my chosen family.
Yeah.
And surrounding myself with positive people. Yeah. I really think that's how I got there.
Yeah. Tell us about, I'm going to say mistake just for the sake of terminology, but tell us about a lived experience that, like, sort of a formative experience that really shaped you, or somebody that really shaped you.
Okay. So this is kind of, there was a gentleman named Ben Stevenson. He was the artistic director of the Houston Ballet when I was very young. So let's just give it a year, 1978. And I was 13, and parents are here to embarrass their kids. and I know, because I'm a parent, and I do it all the time, I'm told. But my father went into the office to find out if his daughter was going to be a ballerina. All right, so I'd been taking dance since I was 7 years old. Okay. They invested a lot of money, and he goes and he says, Mr. And I go in with him, Mr. Stevenson, do you think that ballet is the path that Lauren should take? Do you think she will be successful? And Ben is British, and I'm going to butcher this, but he goes, well, actually, no. And I was devastated, because by the time I was 13, I'd kind of decided this is what I wanted to be.
Right.
I'd been on point for a couple of years. I figured it out. There were some things I thought I was good at. I felt successful. And I was devastated that he said, no, I probably wouldn't be a dancer. And then he said, which I'm sure I didn't hear at the time, but then he said, however, she should keep taking ballet, because musical theater is her thing. She has a good singing voice. She has a good personality. I really think musical theater is where she can be really successful. And he still tells me that to this day, by the way. And however, keep taking ballet, because in those auditions, you'll have an edge on everybody else. You'll have better technique, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I was devastated. I left, with the chin that waggles and the tears are coming. And I've decided I don't want to do it anymore. My dad comes out. He stayed in there. They had a conversation. To this day, I don't know what that is. He comes out and he says, okay, baby girl. And I was like, Daddy, I don't want to take ballet anymore. I want to quit. He went, oh, no. You are not going to quit. I've paid for these classes, number one. Right? First off.
First and foremost.
But number two, you're not going to quit. You can stop at the end of the year or at the end of the semester, but you're not going to just quit. So I'm sure I pouted. The beautiful thing is I didn't quit before the miracle. At the end of that semester, the cast list for the spring show goes up on the board.
Yep.
And every kid in the academy is in the spring show. Okay. The spring show is Alice in Wonderland. So we all run out there and look at the cast list. Now look, the last time we did Alice, I was a flamingo and I was in the lobster quadrille.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a flower. I've been on point for 2 years. I want to be a flower. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
So I look at the cast list. It says Anderson Alice. I'm like, well, Alice is white. It can't be me. So I'm scrolling down and I don't see any more Anderson. So now I'm devastated again. And I have an attitude. And I go in the office and say to Ben Stevenson, why am I not in the show? I'm the only kid in the school not in the show. I know you told me I wasn't going to be a ballerina, but now I'm not even a flower. And he looked at me and said, darling, you're Alice.
Wow.
And I went, I can't be Alice. Alice is white. And he said, the only color in art is on a canvas. You're a dancer, and dancers dance. That changed my whole idea of, I may want this, and that might not be right for me. Don't make the decision to just want that, because what could be in store for you is so much better.
Yeah.
Flower or Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that is such a powerful story. You had someone who saw you before you saw you.
That's right. You're not the ballerina yet, young lady. Hang on.
Yeah.
However, you can be the lead in this ballet, carry this ballet, get to speak in this ballet, get to act and dance the lead throughout, and be the thread of the ballet.
Yeah. And it's so important. It sounds like what you're saying is what shaped your values about being honest about you is you had someone to be honest about you.
About you. And in the most amazing way in 1978, right?
Yeah, say more.
Because we know Alice is white. In other things, Cinderella is a rags to riches story. Sleeping Beauty is a princess that gets kissed. That's Disney decided what color she would be, and now, of course, the colors are changing, and that's fine. But we know that the story of Alice is about a blonde white chick.
Right.
So it was just awesome to think that this man decided to put me out there like that. Well, actually put himself out there like that, first off, but put me out there and allow me this opportunity to change the landscape of that role.
Yeah.
In a very small way. To me, I was just dancing.
Right.
I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
Kids don't think about that.
Yep.
They just dance.
Right. They're thinking about historical context, what this might mean in 20 years, breaking color barriers.
No, nobody's thinking about that.
You're like, put my stuff on, let me go.
Let me go, honey. Give me a wig and let me do it. Right?
Yeah. This is such a beautiful rendition of sort of what shaped you, because I can imagine, right, how...
That did it for me.
Yeah.
That changed my view of what I could do.
Yeah.
There were no limits. At that point, there are no limits.
At that point, there are no limits. And with every milestone, Lauren Anderson proved this to be true. Lauren was just 13 years old when she stepped on stage as Alice in the Houston Ballet's production of Alice in Wonderland. In 1990, Lauren becomes prima ballerina for the Houston Ballet, making her the first African-American principal dancer of a major ballet house in the United States. In 1999, Lauren brought the title role to life in Ben Stevenson's Cleopatra, receiving accolades from international critics. And in 2016, Lauren's ballet shoes were inducted into the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture, while the city of Houston proclaimed October 5th, 2016, Lauren Anderson Day. A true definition of a boundary breaker.
Then what? Like, how did your world open up? But before we go there, bring us back to sort of your chronology. Like, walk us through Lauren Anderson.
The way I started Dad was the assistant principal of the high school for the performing arts, and he was hiring dance teachers from Houston Ballet. And he was talking with them one day and said, I have an overactive 7-year-old daughter. Would ballet be good for her? And they said, of course. And that's how I started.
Okay.
I walked in the door, I looked at everybody's feet that were in a position that looked like a duck, and all I could think was, how am I gonna get my feet to do that? That's all I could think about. And then I looked around, there was this one boy named Eric. And I'm a little competitive, just a little.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And we got to the end of class and we were jumping. And that's when I found out I had a superpower and I could jump. Well, actually, I couldn't land. It's the thing, I would go up and then land instead of like skip and skip and skip. So my goal for about a year was just to jump higher than that boy, Eric.
Yes.
And it was great.
Yeah.
And then I did for about a year, and I'm like, okay, now what?
Now what?
Right. And then Dance to the Fallen.
True competitor.
I know. It's like, okay, now what? But I'll say that when Ben Stevenson came to the Houston Ballet in 1976, it changed it for me. He let me jump with the boys. He did say, darling, you can't look like a flying armchair. He did say that. But he let me jump with the boys, and he made it fun but challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And gave it a story.
Yeah.
He gave every class, every step, every movement had a meaning. And I think that shaped my future. I want to have meaning. Always chasing that thing to have meaning, to have purpose. I was 9 years old, and my mother took me to see a ballet performance, and it was Dance Theater of Harlem. Now, I didn't know it was Dance Theater of Harlem. I just was going to the ballet, and I was excited. And the curtain went up, and this black ballerina ran across the stage. And I went, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
What is happening?
I didn't know that I hadn't seen one until I saw one.
Right.
And I was like, I want to be her, I want to be her, I want to be her. And that was kind of the thing that got me to this point of loving ballet.
This origin of your story has so much to do with authenticity, and now it sounds like meaning that came from, it sounds like your father and Ben Stevenson exposing you and really putting you in the right sets of conditions with the arts.
Absolutely. I think my dad, academically, my parents, both of them were a lot to live up to, right? I'm an only child. My father was valedictorian of his class, president of his class. My mom, same thing. It's just a lot academically to live up to these two brilliant beings. And my dad, yes, he has an amazing tenor voice, but it's not in the arts. He's in academia. My mom was a classical piano teacher, so, who started modeling at 36 and blah. I could go on. I know, she's special.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
I think that ballet saved me in so many ways. The arts saved me in so many ways.
Let's pivot actually to Plum Sugar, which I had the privilege of watching. It was so transforming. I cried, I laughed. I was
That's
like,
my life, girl. That's my life.
That's your whole life
my whole
in a
life,
case.
right, yeah.
I was like woofing, clapping, standing. It was this beautiful rendition, which I'm sure does not even come close to the actual experience of your life, but it was so touching. I recently watched an interview where you said, I watched the play every time it came out, which I think it aired probably like every Friday. And then you said, now I'm watching the people watch it.
Yeah, okay, so hold on, get this. I didn't go every time, there were 40 shows.
Okay.
It was like a run of the Nutcracker. It was insane. It was a lot. I probably I counted my tickets, I went to 12 out of the 40.
Okay.
I remember watching it the first time and wanting to be as small as possible. I couldn't get any smaller because I was so vulnerable and so exposed. Not that everyone knew the things, it's just that I just felt so vulnerable. Like people were looking inside my soul because, let's go into this. Deborah Deep Mouton, who was Houston's first Black female poet laureate, wrote the play. She'd kill me. The Coro poem.
The Coro poem.
Yes.
Okay.
And it came from 3 years of interviews.
Wow.
In the middle of that is COVID. And right before that is George Floyd.
Okay.
Okay. So the emotion that we were feeling of being in lockdown, this thing that's on us that we don't really know what it is, that's called COVID, and then with these feelings that everyone's having about this whole summer,
Social
that whole
unrest.
situation,
Yep.
and then having other people try to help. You are now being asked to help other people with their feelings.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So during this time, Deborah was a godsend because we were on Zoom calls probably every other day for an hour or so, recorded, which she would need to. And literally, I stopped seeing my therapist during that time because I was getting therapy.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't need to do Zoom calls with her. Besides all my
Yeah.
Zoom calls for work, I was zoomed out.
Zoomed
but,
out, yeah.
I mean, it was that. It was so cathartic, and it massaged my insides
Ooh.
to where all of the emotion and everything I was feeling came out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I was feeling it sometimes. And I say that, and it was interesting, my son, who's a musician, a drummer, and in the play, all the percussion that you hear in the play is him.
Oh, how
Like he played his
special is
heartbeat,
that?
dum-dum,
Yes.
he played all of that. So he knew the play and had kind of had more of an idea of it, the choreo poem, than I did. The theater piece, I should call it, really, because that's what it is. Mm-hmm. It was a lot. I could see him trying to take care of my feelings. So when he saw the play and we were sitting there, at the end, he ran around. He was sitting like straight across. He ran around to the other side, came to me, put his hand on his head on my hand around my shoulders, his head on my shoulder, said, "Mom, are you okay?" I said, "Yes, I'm good, baby." I said, "Okay." So because he goes, "I heard you." He goes, "I've heard all of that."
wow.
He's heard all of that.
Yeah.
Because he knows me and he knows what
Yeah.
I say. And literally, Deborah took my words and made them sound like melodies, sound like cursive. It was amazing. And I relived it every time.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. What part of the reliving still after the 12 shows and it's been a year since it's been in
Yes.
production. What part still resonates with you?
The abuse, the physical abuse, and how far I've come from being a drunk and a drug addict to being this person who's walked through the fire and is so much better because of all that. And now how I get to help other people through similar situations. No situation's the same, but it's the same.
Yeah.
And the thought, it's helped me. Also, I've had a few friends with cancer,
Okay.
right? And I have never had cancer, but I know that I can help another alcoholic because I've had that. So I get to connect those people I know with people that I know that have. So I have a real relationship with people.
Yeah.
I can say to you authentically, "Baby, I have no clue how you feel, but I know somebody that might.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I connect you with them?" And I get to do that.
You sound like you have a healing circle of sorts that you get to facilitate with people. It also sort of brings you back to meaning, which, boundary breakers, they are able to stay rooted in who they are no matter what the peak or the valley is.
Well, I got that from way back when as a kid dancer, as a young dancer, because Ben Stevenson said, "I want to see you on the stage. You can't be her, you can't be her. Yes, she has really good feet and you don't. Yes, you have more jump and she doesn't. Yes, you can turn and she can't, but she can do this and you can. So we can learn from each other, but you'll never be that. So don't waste your time trying to be that. But as a young person, you can't help it because you're trying to figure it out."
Yeah.
So I had to give myself a little grace.
Yeah. How important was that you had somebody that kept saying, "Be you, be you, be
It's
you"?
very important because you don't listen.
Yeah.
So you need them to tell you for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was also the director.
So that I want to come back to this moment because you said you get the chance to heal and help others, and when I watched Plum Sugar, I saw that.
You saw it happen.
And I was just like, oh my gosh.
I was grateful for that. Okay, so I was grateful for that because a lot of our stories don't end up that way, and they're not shown that way in the media or in the book or in the whatever. I was grateful that Deborah gave me that.
Yeah.
And then, and she's also writing my book. So there'll be a Plum
Oh,
Sugar
good.
memoir.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
But I will say, the whole thing is a we thing. I didn't do anything, right? I did the bad thing and got to the good thing by just watching other people model. So I saw the same thing in other people, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had to learn it. You got to learn all this.
Yeah.
It's almost like I had to relearn everything I should have retained from kindergarten.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
The unlearning and the learning is like,
It's amazing.
it's amazing.
And it's a
beautiful.
lifetime of that.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted our listeners to hear from you as a boundary breaker is because of, and you and I talked about this a little bit, how many things you had to break in order to be you, and how many things you had to bridge to make that happen.
I did not know that's what I was doing. The only thing I knew that I was doing was that I was going to be the first black principal dancer with the Houston Ballet. That is an obvious thing. That was a very obvious thing. The thing with Alice in Wonderland, I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know the levity of what happened in 1990 when I was promoted to principal. I had no idea. I know it now. I have an idea of it now. Mm-hmm. And that the Lauren Anderson, I put quotes around it because I don't know who it is people think I am, and I get that. But when I show up as me. And what I was saying before is, as a young dancer, I was allowed to be me. I didn't have to all of a sudden become someone else. Because you think of ballerina. People, I do guest speaking as one of our programs in my department. And I go and talk, and they're expecting this. I don't know what they're thinking of that a ballerina looks like. But when I come in hey y'all, how y'all doing? Da, 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 and just kind of open and big. I'll say I'll come in kind of big. They're like, oh my goodness, you're nothing like I thought you were gonna be. And I'm like, what'd you think I was gonna be? Well, we thought you were gonna be, kind of snooty and this. And I'm like, well, so ballerinas look snooty to you? Mm-hmm. I'm not understanding. Yeah. But I think it's that idea of someone on stage. It's looking at someone in the limelight, right? It's like how kids probably see movie stars and athletes.
Right.
Really, y'all? They're people. They put the pants on the same way. They don't have
same
8 legs
Yeah.
and 15 arms.
Yeah.
And no, they're just.
But I think that that's really special about you is that it sounds like when you're tracing your roots, the ability to be you and to continue to be you is actually breaking down the barriers for young people so that they don't see the mammoth. They can see you as this big person on stage, and then they get to see you in person. And that sounds like it is just shattering a lot for them, that they can see you human.
But that's so that it makes all of these things that you think might not be achievable, everything's achievable. There's opportunity, there's passion, there's all these different ways to get there. I'm not saying everyone can achieve everything. You got to do some stuff. But everything, I would love to inspire kids to be the best them they can be whenever they get to wherever they're going, right? The path is what the path is, but there's going to be an amount of surrender. I don't care what it is. And that's the hardest thing to do when you start to know something, right? When developmentally with the brain. Once you start to think that you know something, it's hard to give that up.
Oh, yeah. Because you want to feel real good about it. You want to go with it.
You want to go.
Yeah.
All you want to do is go. And the way to get there sometimes is to let go.
Yeah. Arts produce the way that we can understand the human experience in a way that no other industry really can, not even technology. From acting to dancing, it brings us into how people feel and live in a very beautiful way. And it is not unrelegated to some of America's painful histories and past. And a story that I was looking up is about Raven Wilkinson.
Yes, I got to sit in an audience next to her
Okay.
before she passed.
Yeah.
And watch Misty Copeland's first Swan Lake. So, okay, what you're alluding to is this. Ballet is a European art form. It happened in the courts of Europe. That means kings and queens are doing it first. And of course, it started with court dances like the jig and stuff like that. And it has evolved into what we see it is today. So when you say Europe, that is from that continent. And people that did it looked like that, okay? And that's not what we look like unless we've been shipped over there.
Right.
Okay. That is where it's come from, and that was the 1600s or something. It's the world's history, actually, because we were shipped all over the world. It's the world's history. That kind of was penetrated. Let's see, I'm 58, soon to be 59. So that was...
Where?
So hold on. That was
what are
probably
you drinking?
65 years ago. Stop it. That was probably 65 years ago that we got any kind of rights. Only 65 years ago. So that's in my parents' lifetime, and I think about that and I go,
right.
Okay, so we've come a long way in a very short amount of time, but it's not enough. And there's no way to digest it, to really digest it and breathe it and exude it, unless it's going to take time just because. Now, we're moving with technology, which is the beauty of it. We're moving with technology, but people that control it or run it or whatever, that old guard is moving out because people are dying. People die and they go away. So there's a shift. There's definitely a shift in the way it's taught, making it culturally relevant to whatever culture, not just Black people, not just people of whatever culture.
Yeah.
There's a shift in a lot of the major ballet company artistic directors all at one time, because they realize shifting here and shifting here and shifting here is not it.
Okay, so there's like a collective wave.
It's a collective wave.
Okay.
Which is beautiful. And I get to be a part of that.
Tell
which is
us.
amazing.
Tell us. That was my next question.
I'm
tell
not trying
us.
to be an artistic director of any ballet company. I am put here to teach children. That is my jam. That's what I'm good at, I feel, and I use the at the end of the sentence. That's horrible. but that's what I really feel is my calling.
Yeah.
However, I've been called in to talk on it and put in a position at Houston Ballet to actually be in control of how some of that happens. And they have put me out into the dance world to help model what Houston Ballet has been doing since 1976.
Tell us.
And New York, and not saying there's anything wrong with the Northeast, but they seem to think that they are the starters, the innovators, and they are of some things. But what this gentleman named Ben Stevenson and what Stanton Welch, who's there now, is continuing is this legacy of whoever does it on the level that we need them to do it and can enhance our company is who we hire. It's not by anything else.
Yeah, that's how you change systems and structures and influence the larger masses of something. So tell us about your current role. What is it? What do you do?
I am the Associate Director of Education and Community Engagement at the Houston Ballet. And I know I talked about the 70s, so yes, I've been there for 51 years, and I have worked there. I've been employed there for 40 years. And what I get to do is take dance programs, movement programs into schools for free.
Wow.
And it's not me that's doing this. It's supported by Houston Ballet. It's part of their core values of access to Houston Ballet. So I get to give scholarships to students so that they can come dance, students in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods and schools. We use data from TEA, Texas Education Association.
Yep.
We use data from that and to target schools. However, to be inclusive, you cannot exclude. So we will go wherever to do the thing, but we target certain schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I get to do, and I also I'm a master teacher. I teach all over the world, and I get to recruit.
Yeah.
And,
tell us what it's like when your students encounter you.
Wow. I have no clue what it's like when they encounter me. I only can speak from my side of encountering them. I've never, this kind of gets me a little choked up when I think about it. I've never been taught a dance class by a black person. And I get to go to, and that don't sound like I'm dropping names, but I'm gonna drop it. Debbie Allen Dance Academy, because we know Debbie. Debbie's from Houston.
Everybody knows Debbie Allen.
Child, you need to come and work for me. All that. I get to go there, and I walk in the studio, and it's a studio of little brown ballerinas, little brown dancers, or ballerinos, I call them, the boys. And they're used to that. I'm not used to that. I'm just not. And so every time I walk in the studio and I get that opportunity, I am so moved and grounded, and I feel amplified, and that I have more purpose and more meaning than ever.
Yeah.
And it just fuels me. So when I come back to Houston Ballet or go to wherever, Miss Betty's toe tap and fire baton, wherever I go, I'm on fire just to keep inspiring and spreading this knowledge and this way of teaching that will relate to the student-centered learning. It's not about me. I get to leave my ego at the door. This person that people think, well, I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not her. I'm Miss Lauren, and a plie is a plie, and a tendu is a tendu, and it's not different because I'm coming in here. I'm not the all-knowing. You're teaching me also, right? I don't think I've ever worked a day in my life.
Wow.
I've just been blessed enough to do exactly what I love to do.
Yeah. This sounds like so much liberation in the way that you're living right now. It sounds
Right
like
now.
also right now.
Operative word, because I had no idea how good I had it.
Yeah. It also sounds like, that Marianne Williamson, quote, like your light inevitably gives others the ability to shine their own light. And it sounds like that's what's happening.
I would want that. I would want.
Yeah,
I
tell
would
us.
want that.
Tell us what you want. What do you want this to be?
I want to give people an opportunity to be them. Give me the space to be the best me I can be. So I'm not bringing any kind of negative energy your way. But I would hope to inspire students to be the best version of them they can be. However that is. I'm not here to make you a dancer. I'm here to give you an opportunity to be an artist and to express yourself in that way. Mm-hmm. I'm here, and what's great about what we do is, and I say we as in we, all the people in this room, what's wonderful about what we do is the training that we've had creates success in all those things that what you could think success: follow through, push through, perseverance, discipline, all the things that the arts does. So it makes you successful. It gives you tools for success at anything.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I would hope to help our community be healthy.
Yeah.
And when I mean the community, I mean the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So I know that the Houston Ballet is a very special place for you, and it sounds like grounding your talents there to give young people inspiration, to give them the tools to be them, so that, I love what you said. It's like, I'm not here to teach you to be a dancer. I want to help you become you. How do people support the Houston Ballet? Like, it is a movement, and if you are there, I know it's going in the right direction. How do people support that?
The Academy is for-profit. The rest of the foundation is nonprofit. And so, of course, donations, even if you say, I'd love to support one of the arts programs that goes into the community, because the money that goes in allows my department to do what it does. I mean, we get to reach, this past year we've reached 80,000 students in one way or another.
Wow.
Right? So, and it's not just me, honey. I have a mighty team.
And also, we've talked about this. You said it's not just a phone call. It's not like outreach. It's something that you've changed the term of that.
It's engagement.
Yeah.
It's in how many ways can we create access to the Houston Ballet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just to dance. And the wonderful thing is I just came from DC. There's something called Beyond the Ballet Bar,
Yeah.
which is 6 Black organizations. Okay, so there's Duke Ellington School, which I think is their HSPVA, along with some other dance schools. And these teachers have decided we're going to work at teaching our students classical ballet the way, maybe not the way we were taught it, but with the tools that we have to give it to them so they can be the most successful. Because these students decided this is what they want to do. And I had the opportunity when we were doing the academy audition to go and teach a master class for these students. And to walk in that room and see just brown tights. Everybody had on flesh tone tights, just brown legs. And there was a boy, so he had on black and white. But I'm saying it was to know that, and yes, they knew who I was, they know about my career, and their dance teachers were at the front of the room. They're all black. So it's just a different world. It just makes me feel so special and needed. And and that I'm allowed, I get to teach them.
Yeah, you have the privilege to teach
them. And they
them.
get to teach me.
Yeah.
They don't even know, we had a talk afterwards, so we sat down and we talked about things, and it was great because they were like, so when you do this, that, and I was like, you don't understand, you're the better version of me. And what we get to do as your teachers is to help you get there. Because every version that comes out is a better version. They're always younger, better, smarter, cuter. It's all of that.
But what doesn't happen in the education system oftentimes is that someone is telling you that.
Right. And that's another thing. Because I found out my father was actually proud of me. And when did I find that out? At Plum Sugar.
Really?
Now, he's told everybody else throughout the years, apparently. Because they all said, your dad's proud of you. I'm like, and I smile and go, but he literally took my hands and went, baby girl, I'm so proud of you.
And you're doing that right now for young girls, for young boys, and saying, I'm proud of you. You be you. Go be great.
Go be great.
Go be great. Well, I am just privileged, as you described, that you have broken so many boundaries for yourself, for others, and you continue to do that. And it sounds like you are so inspired to continue to do that in the way of, collective action and teaching and inspiring others. And I'm so grateful for that. Before we close out, we're going to move into a segment called Surprise. Tell us what's next for you.
I don't know. I mean, I'm booked until 25, so I know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
But I don't really, I know that there's a book on the horizon.
Okay.
So Adventures with My Husband. My son's gonna graduate from college, which I cannot believe.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm really...
Letting it unfold.
Yeah, and it's the best. I did not think I'm a control freak, competitive, obsessive, compulsive control freak that is learning how to let it go.
Yeah.
And it's the best. It is the best.
I cannot wait to see it all unfold. I pray I can be alongside you, just watching it all unfold. So this segment is called Surprise Question. And so we have here a few questions in the bowl. You can choose one, you can chuck it, you can keep it. But it's your question to answer.
Okay, pick a question.
Pick a question.
And read it to you.
Yep.
In the past 5 years, what have you become better at saying no to? I've just become better at just saying no. It's hard. When you're a people pleaser, I've become better at finding me time so that I can be better when I give you time. Mm-hmm. I think that's what I've become better at.
So it sounds like saying the no and also realizing why it's important to say it, because it gives you the ability to give to yourself, to give to others.
That's right.
Well, I hope and pray that you continue to give to others. Thank you so, so much for your time. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much.
This has been awesome. Thank you.
And that's another episode of Boundary Breakers Podcast, where we are elevating the stories of game-changing business leaders working towards the social good. These boundary breakers have defied the odds, transformed social norms, and created a way for themselves and others by breaking boundaries and building bridges. As you've heard, boundary breakers rarely get there alone. If you are in need of an executive partner and coach to break boundaries in your respective industry, visit our website, breakingbounds.com. You can hear more boundary breaking stories by following us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music.